Hello, this is PJ CAPOSEY, Superintendent of Schools for Meridian 223. I have constructed a four-part series in which I will discuss things that parents should know about social media and how their students are utilizing it. The series is broken down into four parts. Part 1 is 5 things that your students want you to know about social media. Part 2 is 5 things your students don't want you to know about social media. Part 3 is 5 things that your students may not even know themselves. And then Part 4 will be about the things that I would like you to know. My exploration into trying to figure out how to best communicate social media issues to our parents has been one of the last 10 years. I have embraced social media on a personal and professional level and have been a big advocate for it. However, I am very aware of the issues that it brings forward in schools. And so trying to work through and figure out how I can best communicate to parents about the issues in a way that they can actually engage in a conversation with their students. So instead of having a long 45-minute presentation in the gym, which would probably be sparsely attended, thought that the best way for me to get this information across is to construct a 4-part series of videos, of which I'm thankful that you're watching. Before we get started, I want to remind everyone of what our mission and our vision are. So obviously you can read the slide in front of you, but our goal in doing this is to provide a service to our community, as we know that social media is part of the world that we live in and a part of the world that our students live in. In order for us to be as effective as we possibly can, we want to make sure that we are doing everything we can to not only promote the use of social media so that students are using it wisely and effectively, but also be a partner to our parents so that you know what is possibly taking place with your students, or how to have some tips and techniques as to if you are not familiar with technology, or even if you are, on things that we think that you can do to help better the communication with your student regarding their use of social media. This presentation is focused on things that your kids have shared with me or that we know through our work in schools that I'm not sure that they want you to know as parents. So this is the good stuff. This is the juicy stuff. So thank you for tuning into part 2 of our 4-part series. Again, if you want to access part 1 or part 3 or part 4, please go ahead and check out either the district's Facebook page or my personal YouTube page. So let's get into it. Number 1 is Google Incognito. So this is not inherently social media, but Google is the browser, and Chrome is the browser that most people use, which is leveraged through Google. They have an incognito mode. So either you know about this already and you're like, yep, this makes sense, or you have no idea what I'm talking about. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, incognito mode is both available on your phone, on your desktop, on your laptop, on your tablet. And as you can see in the description right there, is going incognito does mean that your local search history, unless you are very technologically savvy, is not going to show up. So if kids want to access sites that you have told them not to go onto, but you have not gone to the extent of blocking them from your own personal Wi-Fi, this will prevent you from checking in on that. So in addition to social media sites, then there's any number of sites that are inappropriate that obviously you guys can know, or let your imagination go where that is. So incognito is a very real thing that all of the kids and all of the groups that I've spoken to about social media and technology and digital citizenship bring out right away. So I think as a parent, you need to definitely be aware of that. The second thing is that the kids kind of laugh at their parents when I ask them about, do your parents have, your passwords, do they check in on you? And a lot of the kids, as I explained in the first video, are much more interested in their parents following them on social media or liking them or whatever the platform vernacular is, as opposed to having their passwords and checking in. Again, as a parent, I think you should be as invasive as you want to be and try to maintain that trust level with your kid, figuring out where that basis is. But what the kids all said is that all the good stuff happens in the DMs anyway. So the kids, I think that social media has been around long enough now that the kids realize that they shouldn't be putting random things out there that are drama ensuing. For the most part, I'd say like 80% of the kids. And we'll talk about the other 20% later. But for those 80%, all the good stuff, all the drama, all the cussing, all the dating, all the potential other things that you want to know about happen in the DMs. And they think that parents are just kind of ignorant to that fact. So if you are checking your kids' devices and phones, you're going to be looking for the private messengers, the direct messengers, whatever that functionality is. And that's where you're going to find the majority of the good stuff. Just simply following them is not going to allow you to know that. That said, the kids don't want you to do that, obviously, but from parent to parent, that is where the good stuff is happening. Number 3 is probably the most serious thing that we'll talk about, is that sexting is pretty real. And so I was even naive to this until I started having the conversations with kids, and then I started looking up some of the national data. And the groups of kids I talked to, these were middle school kids, not even high school. 30% had said that they had either basically been the initiator or been initiated upon asking for inappropriate photos. That's 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. I was shocked by that number. So I thought, oh my goodness, do we have this problem in Ogle County that we need to look at? But when I look at the national data, it's pretty indicative that by the time that kids leave high school, 24% of kids have engaged in some type of sexting. Now, good or bad news, however you want to look at it, that number is lower than the number of people that are, per the same survey, actually engaging in sexual acts. So while sexting is out there and it's real, it may not be as pervasive as we think. The most dangerous statistic I found with sexting was that 55% of people said that when they sent inappropriate photos, they sent them to multiple people. And so that just indicates a whole different level of issue in terms of self-esteem, appropriateness, and sexuality that we need to be having the conversations with kids about. So when I asked the kids more directly, I said, what could parents do to help you understand this? And they just basically said, just have a real conversation with us. And that conversation probably needs to happen earlier than many of us were prepared to have it. So I know as a parent of a 6th grader, I thought I still had a couple of years, and I apparently don't after going through this exercise. So it's been healthy for me, and hopefully this is eye-opening for you as well. Burner accounts. One school called these spam accounts. The other 2 schools called them burner accounts, so I don't know what the vernacular is going to be. When I did some research on them, it seemed that burner account was the more common one. So your kid probably has an Instagram that you know about, but then they may also have an Instagram that you have no idea that's not under their name. So this makes total sense. I think that a lot of people have different profiles, whether it be on Twitter, Facebook, etc., a professional page and then a personal page. This is just the kid equivalent of doing that, except I don't think that parents, we have engaged in that conversation a lot. So I had no idea that my 6th grader, he's not on social media, at least to the best of my knowledge, at this point, but when he gets on, I had no idea that there was a potential for burner accounts. So that's just something to be aware of, is that your kid may have an account that you know about that they post all the appropriate things on, then they potentially have a burner account. And so there's different ways you can search for that within your app if you're checking your kid's phone, but just wanted everyone to be aware. And the last thing is that kids admitted that their sleep is dramatically impacted by social media and continuing to connect after we think they're asleep. And so my advice on this is just simply that, all devices on the kitchen counter before bed. And I know that people are going to say that their alarms are on their phones, so the kids need their phones. If that's the case, then buy them an alarm clock. You can buy them an Alexa for $25, same price as an alarm clock now almost to do that. So just I think that I had no idea the amount of sleep like the kids that you perceive as these excellent students are missing out on because of their activity, in whether it be through DMs, texts, etc., late at night, that they readily admit to being on very late, even to the point where they don't intentionally want to be on, but they get up to go to the restroom, and then 2 hours later they're still watching YouTube videos, or that they just remember that they need to catch up on a Snapchat streak and post something at 11:30. It's not unlike probably things that we do as adults in terms of checking Facebook or checking email or checking things for work, but it's unhealthy and we should address it. Again, here's my contact information. Please contact me with any questions. I'd love to talk with you about this further. Again, this is part 2 of a 4-part series. Part 3 and part 4 are also available probably exactly where you found this. Thank you and make it a great day.